What's up, guys? The Snowman here. Very exciting times for fans of international football like myself as the 2022 World Cup qualifying process nearing its end. If you need more info on how the qualifying process works, please check out my World Cup qualifying explained video. But focusing on the UEFA playoffs today, we've got 3 European slots remaining amongst 12 teams. So I want to go through each of these 3 playoff paths and preview the matchups, also make some predictions as we inch closer to the final draw of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. And if you don't know how these playoffs work, we have 3 groups of 4 teams each where we have 1-leg semifinal ties and then a 1-leg playoff final. Path A is probably the lightest of the 3 draws. Wales and Austria set to meet in Cardiff, while Scotland and Ukraine will play in Glasgow. And this group is super up in the air as to who will come out victorious, especially in terms of this first semifinal. Wales and Austria, the odds could not be any more even. It's a true toss-up. Scotland and Ukraine should possess razor-thin margins as well, but unfortunately that tie has been pushed back a few months to June because of everything happening in Ukraine right now, so I won't dig too deep into that specific matchup because who knows what that'll look like in June. But Wales and Austria will be tremendous. As I mentioned, the betting odds are literally 50-50. On one hand, you have a Welsh side aiming to reach their first World Cup since 1958. Yes, they've had some great showings the last couple of European championships, particularly the semifinals back in 2016, but the World Cup is a different level of honor. Gareth Bale does not want to be on that greatest players to never play in a World Cup list, joining guys like George Best, Alfredo Di Stefano, or even Wales' own Ryan Giggs. It hasn't been the smoothest club season for Bale, failing to gain consistent form and playing time for Real Madrid, but he's only 32. With him, they've got the star power, and we know they have the organization and structure in the back. Austria's coming into these playoffs equally motivated. They haven't qualified for a World Cup since 1998, although it was an inspiring summer for the Austrians last year at Euro 2020, finishing second in their group and coming oh so close to knocking out the eventual champs Italy in extra time. Like the Welsh have with Bale, Austria too has a household name, a star among stars in David Alaba, another Real Madrid man. Alaba has been in and out of the lineup this season with a variety of injuries, but he's a great leader for his nation, a player that can play anywhere on the pitch. As for Scotland versus Ukraine, a lot may change in the next few months, but Ukraine put on a performance to remember at Euro 2022, marching all the way to the quarterfinals. Andrei Yarmolenko looked 10 years younger. Roman Yaremchuk was a great presence at the number 9 position. I thought they looked dynamic and fun for the most part. The Ukrainians are actually undefeated in World Cup qualifying so far. 2 wins and 6 draws, but finished second in their group to France. Scotland also finished in second place. They've won 6 straight matches and counting, led by the talented and versatile Andy Robertson. Scotland's going to be so disciplined against Ukraine, very difficult to break down their shape. Scotland defeating Denmark in their most previous outing, so they're in very hot form, and obviously with the tie being in Glasgow, that aids them exponentially. They have such a rich home field advantage. Now, my predictions for playoff path A, I see Wales just barely edging out the Austrians, and it's difficult to predict how Ukraine will look, but you can imagine their players are going to come out and lay everything on the line, play with so much heart and passion for their country. I am going to give Scotland the slight nod there, though, and then give me Wales to qualify for Qatar from playoff path A. All 4 of these teams with a real puncher's chance. Plenty of off-the-field drama with playoff path B in the past month. Obviously, FIFA and UEFA coming down pretty hard with their sanctions against Russia following the geopolitical events in recent times. It was originally the Russians set to face Poland, but now the Russians are out. We've got Sweden and the Czech Republic facing off in Stockholm on March 24th. This group is really solid across the board. Very disappointing that the Russian government has forced FIFA to take action against their football federation. Would have loved to seen that matchup of Russia versus Poland, but it's a big advantage now for the Poles, who only have to win 1 more game to reach the World Cup finals again. The other semifinals should be very entertaining. Sweden, a slight home favorite, about a 60% chance they advance to the final over the Czech Republic. The Czechs were one of the darlings of Euro 2020, knocking off the Dutch and making it all the way to the quarterfinals. Patrick Schick becoming a global star overnight with plenty of highlights, including his wonder strike from midfield. Certainly one of the goals of the tournament. The Czech Republic haven't been to the World Cup since 2006, but the good omen for them is that the last appearance came after a successful playoff against Scandinavian opposition in Norway, so a similar boat this time. The Czechs have plenty of continuity on their side, but so does Sweden. The Swedes have won their last 9 matches in Solna, just outside Stockholm. 18 goals scored, just 4 conceded in those games. Very strong at home. Jan Andersson's men have excelled at the last couple of major tournaments, but stumbled a bit towards the end of World Cup qualifying. Losses to Georgia and Spain have them in this predicament that is the playoff. I think Sweden is best when they're placing 10 guys behind the ball, sitting deep and compact, absorbing pressure, and then playing on the counter with quick forwards like Alexander Isak. However, I feel like being at home, they'll probably have more possession of the ball than the Czech Republic, and that might not necessarily be a great thing for them. Nonetheless, I believe in what Sweden has built over the last few years. They seem like a slight cut above the Czechs. So as we look at playoff path B as a whole, I've got Sweden advancing to meet Poland, and that would be a rematch of an epic Euro 2020 group stage match where Sweden had all the control, up 2 goals before Robert Lewandowski put his nation on his back, netting a brace and showing why he's the best number 9 in the world, only for Sweden to win it dramatically in the 94th minute. I believe the Polish supporting cast does just enough this time around to aid the star striker. Give me Poland getting back to the World Cup from this playoff path. Finally, we get to playoff path C, by far the tastiest of the 3 playoff paths. It's a real shame that either the 2020 European champs Italy or the Euro 2016 winners Portugal won't be at this year's World Cup. Not a given that Portugal makes the playoff final, as they've got Turkey coming to town this week. Italy set to be a heavier favorite in their fixture versus North Macedonia. And I just have to vent a little bit here. This is one of the reasons I'm so glad the World Cup is expanding starting in 2026. I don't necessarily agree with 48 teams, but it's not ideal for FIFA that either Portugal or Italy won't qualify for the 2022 World Cup. There's just so many great European teams, and we need more UEFA slots. I don't know why Africa and Asia have as many slots as they do, but again, at least expansion is on the horizon. For now, playoff path C is sure to produce some fireworks. And maybe you're wondering why a team as talented as Portugal is even in the playoff. Well, they were undefeated until the final day of stage 1 qualifying. Everything was going according to plan, and then they lost 1 game against Serbia because Alexander Mitrovic scored in the 90th minute, and then boom, Portugal into the playoff. It just goes back to the depth of UEFA. Serbia is a really good team, and that's just the way things shake out sometimes. So Portugal forced to deal with Turkey now. Cristiano Ronaldo's Manchester United have been knocked out of the Champions League, but he'll be fully focused on bringing his nation back to the World Cup, which would be his 5th appearance as a player. Ronaldo already the all-time leading scorer in international football history, and Turkey's going to be up against it. They were a colossal disappointment at the most previous Euros. I remember they had so much hype coming in. They had a recent World Cup qualifying win over France, but it all came crumbling down at the Euros. They've got a new manager now, a German, and Stefan Kuntz. Still plenty of talent on paper, but Turkey's going to be under constant siege against the Portuguese. Italy is the safest betting favorite in the semifinals. The experts have their odds of overcoming the North Macedonians at about 88%, and that makes sense to me. Italy did just enough to conquer Europe last summer and bring home the title. A couple of penalty shootout victories along the way added to the suspense, but the Italians will always have strength in their back 5. Gianluigi Donnarumma in net, and a wealth of experienced defenders shielding his goal. We do have to mention it was 4 years ago when Italy was forced into the World Cup playoffs as well. A shock defeat to a Zlatan-less Swedish side that marked Italy's first failure to reach the World Cup after 14 consecutive appearances. So all the pressure will be on Italy throughout these playoffs. And then you have the small but mighty North Macedonia. They stunned the world when they defeated Germany in Duisburg 1 year ago. That World Cup qualifying win helped them finish second in the group above teams like Iceland and Romania and clinch this playoff spot. And it's hard not to gravitate towards the fighting spirit of North Macedonia if you're a neutral fan. All that being said, I think both Portugal and Italy take care of business in the semifinals, setting up the main entree we all want to see. The 2 most recent European champions clashing head-to-head. Probably a nervous game with very few chances. Jorginho and company will likely give Italy a slender advantage in midfield, but whether it's Cristiano, Joao Felix, Diogo Jota, I feel it's more likely that Portugal is able to convert on their chances in the attacking third. Unfortunately for Italy, I see them missing out on a 2nd straight World Cup. I just can't bring myself to bet against Ronaldo and all of the attacking riches at Portugal's disposal. That's all I got lot for right now. Thanks a lot for watching my 2022 World Cup qualifying UEFA playoff preview. Please leave a comment. Let me know who you have coming out of each of these 3 playoff paths. And if you want more soccer and football content, as always, subscribe to the Snowman Sports Media. Follow me on Instagram as well. And I'll be back soon with more content. Thanks a lot. Cheers.